Welcome to this episode of the Bleed Orange and Blue podcast. As you probably have already seen, we are doing our first ever live video podcast today. The agenda is talking about Sean Manaea signing with the Mets, a 2-year, $36 million deal. Harrison Bader signing with the Mets, a 1-year, $10 million deal, including some other signings that happened over this offseason. We've been on hiatus since maybe about the early December before Christmas. It's all good now. We're all back now, but we can't wait to get into that, and we'll talk and get right into that right after the intro.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York.
Welcome to this episode of the Bleed Orange and Blue podcast. As mentioned, we are going to talk about big moves that happened with the Mets. Not really big, but moves nonetheless. Sean Manaea signing with the Mets, a 2-year, $36 million deal. Harrison Bader signing with the Mets, a 1-year, $10 million deal, and so much more. Hello and welcome back to the Bleed Orange and Blue podcast. My name is Todd Labby. To my right is Amir. Say hi.
What's up?
And yeah, so we got a lot of stuff to discuss today. And as you can see, I have a whole podcast set up now, which is great. The viewers on Spotify won't notice that, but the YouTube viewers will. And yeah, so first order of business is Sean Manaea signing with the New York Mets, a 2-year, $36 million deal. And he will round out the rotation. In my personal opinion, I think it's a very good move. They needed another lefty pitcher, David Peterson being out till June. So there's that, and then Quintana being the only other lefty that they have. So it needed to be done. And Sean Manaea seems like a pretty good participant. As I stated in the past, he's only pitched in the NL West his entire career. He pitched with the Oakland Athletics, the San Francisco Giants, and San Diego Padres. He's a 4.44 ERA. Last season, he went 4-8, including a loss against us during our big stretch on the West Coast. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do in New York, and I hope he does well. Any thoughts, Amir?
Yeah. Um, it was kind of a bummer seeing Yamamoto go to the Dodgers. Big contract. I think it was 1,200 mil. No, I meant
It was 12 years, 325
325.
million.
12, 325. Not 125. I thought we were going to be a playoff push this year, but it looks like it's just a transition year. And Stearns, I think, is taking an approach of defense, as we saw his moves with pieces like Wendell, Bader, who's a great fielder, and yeah.
Yeah, he's going for the. It looks like he's going for the defense wins championships kind of approach, which he tried to do in Milwaukee, which isn't a bad approach. It's just, you know, New York. It's New York, and you want the big things to happen, the big splashes to happen. Obviously, Yamamoto signing with the Dodgers was rough, but unfortunately, once we heard that both Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman were all going to be at that meeting, I think it was set in stone that he was going to sign with the Dodgers. He even said it in his press conference that he was going to sign with the Dodgers. It didn't matter who was going to give him the most money. The Mets gave him the same exact offer, but unfortunately, he didn't take it, and it is what it is. And there's nothing we can do about it. Knew Ohtani was going to the Dodgers once he was heading into free agency back in June of last year. So it is what it is. But I'm happy with the Manaea signing. I don't know why a lot of people are upset or annoyed at it. I think it's a very good move. I think he's a very good player, and I hope he does well for the Mets. I really, really do. I think he'll be a good four-spot starter, or either four or five spot starter, spot starter, or or maybe number three or something like that. So next we'll talk about Harrison Bader signing with the Mets, so a 1 year, $10 million deal. Uh, I don't mean to give myself like clout, but if you all are interested in checking out these moves and all, there's a lot of Mets pages. I also post as well. I'm Bleed Orange and Blue or excuse me, I'm TJ the Mets fan 19 on Instagram. If you want to check that out, some and all that stuff. Have some snippets of this podcast in there today. Um, but when I saw the move, I was like, two things. One, Harrison Bader reunites with Pete Alonso, which is great. And two, he's a very good outfielder. He's got good speed. He's not that good. He's not much of a hitter, which is okay. But having an elite defense would definitely help. And also in the press conference that they had today, David Stearns was in it, obviously because he's general manager, and he said that it looks like Bader will probably stay in the outfield position in center, and they're trying to see if they can move Nimmo over the left, which isn't a bad idea. I mean, you got Nimmo in left, you got Bader in center, and then you have Marte in right, which is definitely not that bad of an outfield when you think about it. Bader probably will maybe be a 220, 230 hitter, if anything. You never know. Maybe he changes. But I think he's more of an outfield piece, and he's just the fourth outfielder, which he should be utilized as he wasn't utilized as in New York for the Yankees. So yeah, what do you think, Amir?
Yeah, I think Harrison Bader was a good signing. He brings that defense that at center field specifically, which we haven't seen since Juan Lagares. I think this team really needs defense. Um, you know, sure everybody's so focused on the pitching, but I think Stearns has done a good job of bolstering the defense, which was very needed because we made a bunch of errors last year that were hard to watch.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I mean, Alonso had a lot of errors last season. Escobar had a good amount of errors last season. Lindor had a good amount of errors last season. So, I mean, and those were the top guys until obviously Escobar was traded over to the Angels. But still, definitely something to just um, look upon, and hopefully he helps out for the Mets. I think he will. I think he's a very good fourth outfielder, and hopefully it helps us out. So also yesterday, so this is moving on to something non-Mets related. The Chicago Cubs signed Shota Imanga, the left-handed pitcher from Japan. The deal has not been disclosed yet, but it is done. He's going to become a Chicago Cub, and it looks like a pretty good rotation over there. They got Taillon, they got Hendricks. Um, it looks like they could be pretty good. They definitely needed help in the pitching aspect, and I think getting someone like Imanga was a very good move. And yeah, I wonder how Chicago will be now. Craig Counsell being the manager over there, so I'm very interested. What do you think, Amir?
Yeah, I think Aminga was a good move. Some people were hating on him, but like Senga. No, I didn't think much of it last off season, but look at what he became. He became an all star and top three in rookie of the year voting.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal. He was obviously a phenomenal pitcher and everything like that, and hopefully he is coming into this season. I think he can be. I think he can be a very good pit. Well, obviously he's going to be a very good pitcher. He's the ace, and I can't wait to see what he does this season. So, the projected starting rotation was rotation and lineup were brought in today. We'll get predictions on the starting rotation first. It looks like Kodai Senga 1, Jose Quintana 2, Luis Severino 3, Sean Manaea 4, Adrian Hauser 5. Senga 2.98 ERA last season. Quintana 3.57 ERA. Severino 6.65 ERA last season. Manaea already mentioned a 4.44 ERA, and Adrian Hauser with a 4.12 ERA. So that looks to be what the rotation looks like right now. But I don't know. I don't know. It looks nice. It's not obviously not the best rotation in the world. There's no sugarcoating that. But I don't know. I think Sanga gets you at least maybe 10, 15 wins. I think Quintana, if well, hopefully we're proven right because I think Quintana wasn't bad last season. It's just the offense. Quintana was kind of given the DeGrom treatment a little bit because the Mets couldn't get him any run support. Um, but Manaea is a good 4-hole. Hauser is a good 5-hole pitcher. But obviously, the thing is, we know these statistics and everything like that from where they previously played. But the thing that's going to be the main factor is when they step onto the field and see what they can produce. For its spring training and when pitchers and catchers report in next month. So it'll be very interesting. But I hope the rotation does well. What do you think, Amir?
Yeah, actually, hot take, I would flip flop Manaea and Severino. I think, my Manaea, he had definitely a better season than Severino right now. Who I think Severino, one good, can be very good, but he was a little shaky last season.
Yeah, he was very shaky last season. Including one of his losses was against, or no, it wasn't necessarily a loss. It was the first game of the series in the Subway Series. He pitched against Max Scherzer. We all remember that game when Scherzer gave up like 4 or 5 runs.
I was there,
And
actually.
oh, really? How about that? You poor soul. Um, but yeah, Severino didn't pitch well. We knew that. I think he was yanked after 3 or 4 innings. But he didn't really get the loss because, well, the Mets lost the game and the bullpen absolutely just ripped apart any resemblance of winning that game. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting going into the season. I hope he does well. I think he can do well. I think him and Manai are going to be good pieces, and hopefully we'll see what happens. But the next big thing is I saw this SMY um, put this out today. It was the projected lineup for the Mets, and I want to pull this up and I want to see um I want to see what it is. It was posted by SMY. And that projected lineup was I believe Nemo 1 is Nemo 1. Um sorry for the hesitation. I'm just trying to find
Lindor
it.
2, McNeil
Oh, here
3.
it is. Yeah, here it is. Possible opening day 2024 lineup, jeez. So Nimmo in left, Lindor at short, obviously, McNeil at second, Alonso at first base, Marte in right, Alvarez catcher, Vientos DH, Beatty at third, and then Bader in center. Obviously, Bader in the 9-hole because he's not a hitter, as we already know. But when looking at this lineup, um, I like it. I don't know. I don't know if I like Alvarez being that low. Kind of because I think Lindor is I think he's a 5-hole or 3-hole hitter, in my opinion. Alvarez showed very good promise last season, and I think if I'm manager, if I'm Mendoza, thinking, I've been thinking Alvarez maybe in the two hole.
You really think that high
I think, I really think, yeah, it's a hot take, but
for a
I
catcher,
really, hmm?
for a catcher too, especially.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, it is a hot take. It really much is. But Alvarez proved himself to be a very reliable catcher for the Mets last year and has a lot of power. Um, it could be a hot take, but honestly, I feel like the two hole helps him. I mean, he produced a lot from that position, and I think Lindor is a 3 or 5 hole hitter, if anything. I don't. McNeil is obviously a base hitting machine, but we didn't see really much of that. Lindor's coming off a 30-30 season, and obviously Alonso stays in the cleanup spot because Pete Alonso is Pete Alonso. He had 46 home runs last season and over 100 RBIs. He the offense was The offense came alive in 2023 when the offense did not need to be alive, which was when we were losing games frequently. The offense needed to come alive when we were not winning the games that we needed to win. The ones in Milwaukee, the ones in Washington, the ones in Detroit, the ones in Chicago. All those games.
Yeah. Speaking of that potential opening day lineup, um, there's a few things that I would tweak. One thing would be the Alvarez, like you said. I would switch him and Marte. Marte coming off a really bad year. So Alvarez at the 5 hole. Also, think we should drop or or you know what? You could put Alvarez at the 3 hole, have McNeil at the 5 hole, and have Marte at the 6.
Hmm.
But I really think the 1 hole in this lineup is the DH. Mark Vientos is now the DH.
You really think Vientos should be one?
No, no, no. I said he's the hole.
Oh, he's a hole. Okay.
No, yeah, I think he's trash.
So kind of like a utility player.
Yeah, I'm not a Vientos guy, even though he like is a prospect and stuff, but
I got you.
I'm not a Vientos guy. But
I got you. I mean, he had that big moment against Tampa Bay last season, but honestly, anything other than that was not what Mets fans really wanted from him. I agree that he's more really a DH, unfortunately. Maybe his power comes back, or maybe he needs a little more time in the minors. Beatty needs to prove that he can play third base. Um, I think it's a proving year for him. Hopefully, all that practice and training at spring training will help him out. Um, he's obviously not the next David Wright. We knew that. I don't know why people thought that he was going to be the next David Wright. He was great in 22 until he got hurt, and then we're like, oh, he's coming back in 23. He's going to be so much better. And he fell flat on his face. He barely was able to break over 220. And it's a proving year. It's a proving year for Beatty. I think if he can't prove himself at third base, then we're gonna have to make a move at the deadline and try and get a third baseman or something like that. Um, the infield I like. Obviously, Lindor at short is great. McNeil at second is great. Alonso at first is great. But when you think about it, you also need another DH. You also need to get Alonso off his feet. Vientos has played first before. Believe it or not, Vogelback was a first baseman in his heyday, and then he can't. He wasn't a first baseman anymore because he never played first base when he was with the Mets. Canada did before he was traded to Milwaukee and then traded to Detroit. So I don't, I don't know. The Mauricio injury was a huge blow to this team. Obviously, he was a whole field player. Could have played short. Could have played second. Could have played third. It would have been nice. Especially that switch hitting option to have another switch hitter in the lineup sucks because of his non-contact ACL injury. The same thing that happened to Diaz in the World Baseball Classic just a year ago. Um, but you got to improve around that, and I think the infield is good from first base, second base, and short. I just third base is very suspect, and I had high hopes on Brett Beatty going into the 23 season, but um, I don't really am. I'm not really high on him. I hope he does better, but I'm not very high on him right now.
Yeah, I really think we should have got like a vet like Turner, for example, to mentor Beatty. Or I
So
heard,
many people, so many people were upset when they were like, "We should go get Justin Turner." Why is that something to be upset about? Turner knows New York. He played in New York for a while. He just was well. Unfortunately, he was one of those Mets players that, wasn't good with the Mets, and then all of a sudden he's traded to the Dodgers, and he becomes, immortal. He's a World Series MVP, and he's got a World Series ring, even though it's a Mickey Mouse ring, obviously, because it's during the pandemic era. But he's still a World Series MVP, and no one can take that away from him. It would be great to have him back in New York. I think we need a veteran to help out the guys at third. Say if Vientos did play third, so you never know, he might move around from third base to DH as well. But I think a veteran like Justin Turner could definitely help out the rookies at third base. Kind of like, what Scherzer and Verlander did when they were in the pitching staff and they were helping out the young guys in the rotation. The same thing with Chris Bassett in 22. He was a great mentor to guys like Taiwan Walker and the young guys in the bullpen. So I think definitely something like that. It sucks they didn't go after Matt Chapman, but I think it was suspected that we weren't going to go after Matt Chapman. Um, I just, it's just one of those things that we can't control the front office. The front office does what the front office wants to do. Um, and I think it's stupid that people were like, "No, we don't want Turner here. We don't want Turner to be a third baseman for the Mets." When obviously he's still got some power left. He played in Fenway for a year. Um, but I don't know. I have a lot of gripes with Mets fans and being negative and all that stuff.
yeah, I mean, I think I heard last year, but I didn't end up to be um that David Wright was supposed to go to spring training and mentor Beatty.
And he did. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm pretty sure he was at spring training. He did mentor Beatty.
Uh, I when I was there, I didn't see him. I don't know.
Yeah, probably because his family is there. He lives in Florida, so I don't know. I heard that he did mentor Beatty. He was there for a couple days.
Huh.
I guess just not the days that you were there.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think the big question is what are the New York Mets? What's their record going to be, and where are they going to finish in the division in 2024? I will let you go first, Amir, and then I will say my piece.
All right, so it's 162 game. I don't see the Mets getting more than 90 wins. Honestly, it's sad the year I'm in. Maybe 92, but I don't see anything higher than that.
Any reasoning behind that?
Well, there's like the pitching is okay. It's like mediocre. And then the lineup is just there's a lot of talent, but it's just not like balanced. Like a team like the Braves is more spread out, balanced, while the Mets are just jam packed like into like guys like Alonso, Lindor, and Alvarez, and the rest of the team cannot really hit and sometimes miss. That's about it. So that's my reasoning.
I gotcha. So looking at these moves and everything like that, the most notable moves that the Mets made this offseason was signing Severino for a 1 year deal, Bader for a 1 year deal, the trade that they made in Milwaukee with Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor, trading away Claymore Clay. That's his name. I don't know why. Um, and then the other move is Sean Manaea. So those are really the only moves that they made this season. Uh, a lot of people, including a lot of sports radio stuff, are saying that it's a bust. I don't see it as a bust. It's not the greatest offseason ever. There's no denying that. To previous off seasons, like getting Verlander and Scherzer, and getting Lindor and Marte and Canna and all those guys. Um, but it's not the worst off season in the world. It's not like a Wilpons off season. It's like we tried. It's not the best, obviously, but I still have faith in it. I still, honest to God, think that we are still a wild card team, and here's my reason why. Um, the offense is obviously the number one thing to to like a lot. I honestly trust 1 through 7 on the lineup. I think McNeil is going to have a great bounce back year. I think Alonso is going to rake like he always does. I just hope every single thing he hits isn't a home run. Um, I hope that it's more base hits. He gets on base, which he does. I hope he becomes a whole field hitter. Lindor is Lindor. 30-30 season he had last season. Um, Definitely will help. Good on the bases, good at defense. The whole package. Alvarez, an amazing rookie season with over 20 home runs. And I think the power will definitely progress going into the season. Um, Marte, I mean, I know the big thing that we were, very concerned about when Marte was playing in 23, which we had every reason to be worried about. Marte in 23 was awful. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Starling Marte in 2023 was one of the worst players on the Mets. But if he can return to form like he did in 2022 and bring a season like that back and, be reliable in the outfield and actually hustle and beat out throws to first and get stolen bases, then I think he can be a very reliable right fielder. Um, and I think he can help. Obviously, Brandon Nimmo, number one in the order. He's one of the best players on the team. Um, gives his heart to the game, gives his heart to the team, and I think he's going to be a phenomenal center fielder and phenomenal in left field. I think he's going to be great on the defensive side. Um, I think that he's going to have a good year. I mean, he's got some power now. He got almost over 20 home runs last season, which is great to see from someone like him. But the thing about him is that he can get you walks. He can get you those hits when you need them. But the thing is, the number one thing that the Mets need to not do, and this obviously is the number one thing that a lot of teams need to not do, is be streaky. Alonso was very streaky last year. He was in a slump a lot. A lot of people were up and down from slumps. And another thing is they need to stop chasing pitches. Lindor was chasing sliders like it was his best friend for a lot of the season until he fixed it up in the second half of the season. Alonso chases high fastballs and low sliders at a frequent rate. I mean, I know those are home run pitches, but you got to wait for the pitch to be there and not swing so early. You can't swing for the fence every single at bat. You need runners on base. You need run support. You need all that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, it's good that Vogelback isn't here anymore. Vogelback just brought this team down. It was one of the worst DHs I've ever seen, along with Darren Ruff. Darren Ruff wasn't great either. Um, of course, losing Luis Guillorme sucks. I mean, I know he's in Atlanta. I hope he does well. Nonetheless, everybody who thinks he's going to be a Met killer is you might be right. You never know. Travis d'Arnaud became a Met killer once he went to Atlanta, and a lot of other players going to other teams. But so I've been blabbering on long enough. So my prediction is I think the Mets. I think you're right. I think it's either 90 plus wins. If they're healthy, if everybody's healthy, um, I'll go hot. I'll go hot take. If everybody's healthy and everything goes into place correctly, Luis Severino turns out to be who we wanted him to be. Sean Manaea turns out to be very good as well, and the offense is rolling on all cylinders, and the bullpen can hold leads. I think we can get at least 95, 95, 97 wins. I still don't think we're good enough to beat Atlanta. I think Atlanta is obviously going to still win the division. I think Atlanta is the best team in the National League East. Um, and a lot of Philly fans will be upset for me saying this, but I don't see Philly. I don't think Philly's better than the Mets, even though they have a very better lineup than us. But the thing on that aspect is that the Mets always beat the Phillies, no matter what, whether it's home, whether it's away. The Phillies can have a hot streak and come into New York, and the Mets will take care of them like it's nothing. So I think the Mets are still a wild card team. I think the Mets are a second place team. I think Atlanta is the best team in the NL East. And yeah, I yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think the Mets, like nothing ever goes right in a season. Someone's eventually going to get hurt. Someone's not going to play up to expectations. But on the other hand, someone will play above expectations, like DJ Stewart last year.
Yeah,
And we'll have to see how that pans out. But if the good can overweigh the bad, then I see us getting within 95 to 90 wins.
I hope DJ Stewart is DH. Well, he will be probably DH, lefty DH. But I hope he does get some playing time in the outfield. That'd be great. Um,
Yeah,
I I think he'll be a very reliable player that we suspectedly did not think was going to do well when we got him in the trade from Cannes to Baltimore, but actually panned out quite well.
yeah. He can give the guys some, like on their off days, he can play. And I think he can play anywhere in the outfield.
Yeah, hopefully. I think he'll probably be more in left
Right.
field. Um, I don't. Bader's not going to be an everyday player. We know that he's going to be a fourth outfielder, just like McNeil is sometimes when he plays in the outfield. But yeah, I think DJ Stewart is going to be a very good help for the offense. The only thing, I think the only thing that well, there's a couple things I'm worried about. Obviously, we're always worried that someone's going to get hurt. Spring training, throughout the season, um, doesn't matter when, doesn't matter how. And then the second thing is the bullpen. The bullpen scares me to death. I don't like it whatsoever. Diaz and Rayleigh are the best two guys that we have. Diaz back is great. That helps the closer role. But unfortunately, the thing is, you can't have a closer be the only good guy in the bullpen. You need other guys. Rayleigh is good, as we've obviously seen, but I don't trust anybody else in that bullpen until I'm proven different in spring training. And that's plain and simple. I don't because It's been notorious over the years that the New York Mets have the worst, and I mean worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. We have the top offense, but we have the worst bullpen, and bullpen wins you games.
Yeah, because the bullpen at the end of the day are the ones that deliver the ball to the closer. The closer's usually a pretty solid guy, but without those key relievers blowing saves and giving up 3-run homers, you can't win games.
And then, what is it? I had another train of thought. Oh yeah, we need pitchers to last. We need pitchers to go past 5, 6 innings. That was a major downside last season. No one could make it through 6, 7 innings. And you need pitchers to get through at least that many innings. We cannot have guys coming out after 4 innings and over 90 pitches. That just cannot happen. We need to limit walks. We need to limit hits. We need to limit runs. We need to have more offensive support. We can't give everybody the DeGrom treatment. Even though we keep saying that's the DeGrom treatment and he's over in Texas now, doesn't matter. It will always be called the DeGrom treatment when somebody's throwing a spectacular game on the mound and the offense can't get anybody a run at all. Whether it's Sanga, whether it's Quintana, whether it's anybody on the rotation, we need to give people run support and we need to attack early and we need to attack often. We need to be aggressive on the base pass. We need to have that same mindset that Buck had. Buck was one of the best managers the Mets ever had, and I don't care what anybody says, he was. He was aggressive, he was gritty, and he knew how to defend his team. Unfortunately, Billy Epler screwed it all up because he was a puppet and decided that Joe Walter couldn't do a darn thing the entire season during 2023. But now I want Mendoza to prove himself. Can Mendoza be a manager? Can he not be Luis Rojas? Can he not be Mickey Callaway? Can he be a rookie manager that we can depend on? Can he handle the bullpen well? Can he handle the rotation well? Can he handle the lineup card? Can he handle injuries and people who can play? Because if people can prove themselves in spring training, bring them up. We waited way too long for Mauricio to be called up. We waited way too long for Vientos to be called up. And when Vientos was called up, unfortunately, it didn't pan out. And it is what it is. That always happens. Somebody can get called up and be the best in the world, and sometimes people can be called up and they're the worst thing we've ever seen. It is what it is. That's what happens. I just want Mendoza to be a good manager. I don't want people to say that we're throwing in the season when we're losing when we're losing 4 or 5 in a row. I'm not packing in on the season if we're losing 4 or 5 in a row, and it's still the first half of the season. I'm not packing it in until the final game, until they say, "Oh, there's no chance the Mets can make it. They're eliminated and they can't make the playoffs." That's when I'll pack it in. That's when they'll say, "Okay, that's the season. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it." And the reason I'm acting like this is because so many Mets fans are so negative. It's like, why can't you be positive? We've always been the underdog. We've always been that team that people are like, oh, they're going nowhere. They're never going to be the best team. They're never going to be this. They're never going to be that. They're never going to be whatever. It doesn't matter. We've always been the underdog since 1962. Yeah, we won the series in 69. We were the Miracle Mets. Then we won the series in 86, and we were the Bad Boys. And then we made it in 2015. It is what it is. Nothing happened. Familia was probably one of the worst closers we ever had, and it was blowing games left and right. Remember in 2019, we had Edwin Diaz, and we all thought that he was going to be one of the worst closers after Familia because he's so bad during 2019. But then all of a sudden, he came all the way back and was one of the best closers we ever had. Yes, that's a lot of words. I get it. And everybody who's listening on Spotify and everybody who's watching on YouTube, this is my passion. This is why I love this team. I am a Mets fan through and through, and I will be positive and I will be optimistic about them. I'm not going to be a negative baby when they're losing games or people are getting injured or people can't perform. I'm going to always look at the optimistic side, and I'm always going to say that we are one of the best teams in the Major League Baseball, even when we're not the best team in Major League Baseball. And if you got a problem with that, oh well.
Well said, well said. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of people don't give the Mets patience. To their credit, the Mets don't really deserve all this patience, but yet we still should give it because they continue to prove every single year. Like before the season starts, oh, when Diaz is injured, uh-oh. It's like you gotta get it at some point. I understand, like, yeah, we gotta be optimistic, but like, I feel that the Mets, to an extent, I don't know, like, because these injuries before the season start really just makes me upset, and especially both are gonna miss the entire year. I I think Mauricio may come back at the end, but most likely miss the entire year.
Torn ACL, he's out for the whole season. There's nothing debating that. Torn ACL, you're out for the whole season. It was the same thing with Edwin Diaz. We thought he'd come back, but even if he did come back, I didn't want him to play. We sucked last year. I don't care if we needed a closer as bad as we did. I was not letting him step on that field last season.
Yeah, there was some talk about it. That's why I thought Mauricio could potentially, but there's no point. Maybe if there's a
There's
playoff push.
Yeah, I counter that. I say that if there's a playoff push, then Mauricio can play, then by all means he can come back. But if we're down in the dumps and we're near last place, there's no point in Mauricio coming back.
Agreed.
I don't I don't want to rush players. It was the same thing with when Scherzer got hurt back in 22. I didn't want him to come back onto the field until he was fully healthy and fully ready to go. Because that's another common thing with the Mets. They rush players back way too quickly. And then all of a sudden they got injured all over again.
That's a problem.
Yeah, we always have grievances. We always have these things that we worry about and the things that we don't want to happen. But that's baseball and we got to learn from it. It's just plain and simple. but but yeah, I mean, other than my whole tirade that I just went on, um, yeah, I does it suck that we didn't have a big off season? Yeah, but we got to trust in Stearns. We have to trust in Cohen. We know what they're doing. We believe in the process. We don't have to get the top rated guys every single season. Does it suck? Yes. We wanted Otani. We wanted Yamamoto. But it is what it is. The Dodgers got them, and we can't do anything about it. Should I think that? Do I believe there should be a salary cap? Absolutely. What the Dodgers are doing is absolutely unfair, and it's ruining the game of baseball. But there's nothing we can do about it. They got the pieces that they think will win them a championship.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we can wrap this up here. We've had our predictions. We've had everything. I went on a whole tirade. Um, but yeah, on YouTube, you guys can put your comments down below and see what consider what you think, what your predictions on the season, how you think it's going to go. Give anything like that. You can ask questions. Because yeah, this is the new format that we're going with. I got a whole podcast set up now. I have a whole software now. Still on Spotify if you want to listen to it, the audio version, or on YouTube if you want to listen to to the video version. So, for now, Amir, thank you for joining me once again for this episode. We will see you all next time. And as always, let's go Mets. And for this episode, you can put it in the books.